I'll start with the
Yeah.
stereotypical question, which I'm sure you're bracing yourself for.
Okay.
How did you get into ants?
Oh. Yeah, fair enough. Well, a lot of people have like an exact explanation. I don't really know. Um, I think just since I was a kid, there were like ants in the backyard, and I would always just be super interested in like what they were doing and what was going on underground. I don't want to like protect them from my friends. They'd be like stepping on the ants. I'd be like, "Don't do that." Um, and then yeah, of course, eventually, I got access to the internet. And rather stereotypically, I found It's Canada, and then it
Don't
was a
we all?
sealed deal. Yeah, I think back when I started watching him, he had like 3,000 subscribers or something.
Really?
Um,
So you were on the beginning of that train.
oh yeah, yeah, of course.
That's
I
awesome.
remember I was like emailing him about like Tetramorium wars and stuff. I don't think he ever responded, but I had the beginner Ants Canada craze syndrome, I guess you could say, and that's pretty much how I got into it.
Nice. You were back when he had some really, really good content too that, maybe not getting the most
Yes,
views, but I mean, man, it was informative back then.
it was it it was definitely nostalgic. I mean, there was I think one of his biggest videos that I had watched like dozens of times was the Tetramorium one. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, when I was a kid, I would just watch that stuff over and over. It was ridiculous. But you're right. Today it's more it's kind of all over the place. Um, I love what he does today still, but yeah, there's definitely something nostalgic about those older Ants Canada videos.
Man, and then you hear the word Tetramorium back then, right? And you're a kid and you see this battle, you're like, this was awesome. And then it does lose its glamour when you see it every other day, on your
Yep,
sidewalk, and you're like, man, these invasives are ruining my life.
yep. I have a lot more Formica if it wasn't for you.
Oh yes, yep, 100%. Well, I think a great place to start here too would be talking about formiculture because, like yourself, when I first got my hands on the internet and found formiculture, that really became a good big home for me, and that kind of is what connected me with you and connected you with the ant selling business. So tell me about your first few years in formiculture.
Yeah. Um, I don't really remember my first few years on Formiculture. I think I would have joined in like 2016 or 17. Yeah,
Hmm.
2016. Um, and unfortunately, I was definitely like one of those annoying little kids that just like got bored, and so he posted a Formiculture post or something like that. But
Oh
one of
boy.
the most notable things about Formiculture way back in the day was that it led to me getting invited to like a Skype group, which then led to me being like a pioneer of the Discord ant keeping groups.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people like Discord, and a lot of people don't like Discord. It has its pros and its cons, but um, I think for me it was really good because it's like a fast paced community in a way, and that was really good for me because it just kind of allowed instant communication, fast paced back and forth. Um, it sort of helped me like level up more. And when I was like talking to people that also wanted to level up with ants a lot more, it just multiplied. So we would just learn more and more. Um, and none of that would have happened if I didn't get an invite on Formiculture from
Sure.
some random in a Skype group. Um, so yeah, the, it's crazy how things happen like that. But
Yeah,
I do think Formiculture, um, unfortunately, is like losing some of its vigor,
absolutely.
which
Yeah,
is
I
very
can see it
which
too.
is very sad. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can see it. There's just less and less posts each year. It's not dead by any means, but there's definitely less. And some people don't care. I really hope it stays up for a while. I think it's an excellent resource. Even just the journals are are an amazing resource, not only for ant keepers but for scientists. I mean, there's been a lot of information that you can't find anywhere else. So,
Yeah.
yeah, my
That's a
opinion of formiculture is very high.
that's a really cool insight. I fully agree with you. I mean, there are so many people that are brought to Formiculture and maybe they don't join, but are brought from search results that, I mean, you search these things, right? And like you said, you can't find them anywhere else but some person's random Formiculture journal or post asking, what the heck's going on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
awesome.
like the it's kind of like a more specific Reddit in a way. It's
Hmm.
like you search something up instead of a Reddit post, you might get a formiculture post.
100%. Awesome. Well, tell me a little about Stateside Ants. Tell me how that started and how you doing today.
Yeah, well, it's going good today. I really enjoy it. It well, the origin story is kind of a little bit funny. I had collected a ton of Subceresia queens because back in the day, I think this was like 2021 or 2022. Um, Tar Heel Ants had finally gotten permits to ship Subceresia to a lot of states, along with Occidentalis, I believe.
Yep.
And so I figured, okay, well, I've collected and sold ants on a small scale before. I'm going to catch a bunch of Subceresia and sell them to Tar Heel Ants. Um, and I think he got busy. I really like Mac.
Hmm.
Tar Heel Ants is awesome. But like back in the day, I was probably just some like annoying kid emailing him. So so he was like, sure, I'll get some Subceresia. I caught him some Subceresia, and then he didn't get back to me. So I was
Sure.
like, okay, well, I got to get rid of these Subceresia somehow because I don't want to hold on to 40 of them.
Yeah.
Um, and so then I decided, I'm just gonna start my own little website to to sell these ants off, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. Then I started selling my Lasius, Tetramorium, got the permits and all that stuff. Um, because yeah, I mean, I think during the beginning everybody was saying like, oh, you have to be like, there's like some crazy requirements for the permits. And I looked into it, and it wasn't hard, and I did it, and yeah, and now we're here today.
Yeah, that's awesome. As somebody who also owns permits, I will say, uh,
Yeah,
they are not the hardest things to apply for, but recently they have been coming in quite a bit slower than they've been
yeah,
before.
yeah. There's been some staff changes at APHIS.
Our legendary ant supporter, Carlos Blancos,
Yeah,
unfortunately retired.
yeah, he's doing well from what I hear, but yeah, he's definitely missed. He was he was really he was really good at striking the balance between like keeping agriculture safe, but also um, you know allowing people to keep the ants that they want in a legal way. Um,
Yes.
and the new people, they're definitely starting to step it up. I think there was just a little bit of they're a little bit behind because they already had jobs at APHIS, I believe, many of them, and they were kind of thrown into this position, and they have a ton of work. But I've spoken with some of them, and they're definitely doing a lot of work, and they're trying their best.
Hmm.
So I think
Absolutely.
things will be back to normal soon. We got some good people in office there now. Um, but yeah,
Awesome. Well, I gotta ask, I've heard rumors of this floating around and I'm not certain, but are you a full-time ant seller? Is that your full-time job?
yeah, yeah, it is.
That is
Um,
so cool.
yeah, yeah, I'm super lucky. I just happened to get into it in the right span of a couple of years, and I just happened to, like I said, it wasn't really like, oh, I'm gonna plan to sell, thousands of colonies a year. It was more just, I got to get rid of these Formica queens. That's kind of how it started. So I never imagined that it would be like this, but yeah, I am super lucky.
That is so cool. So tell me, I'm really intrigued. I mean, you've already mentioned, Mac. We've already talked about Carlos Blancos. What are some of the other cool individuals in the ant keeping community that, being the owner of Stateside Ants, has led you to meet?
Oh my gosh, there's too many. Um, I don't know. Jeez, I don't even know where to start. Like I know so many people. There's yeah, well, I don't even know because if I name one person, then other people are gonna be like, "Hey, you didn't want to say me." Um,
I didn't think about that.
yeah, it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I have a ton of like super close friends now from ant keeping. Like pretty much everybody that's a supplier of mine, like they basically just become like friends. Um, so I mean, I think it's super rewarding to just interact with people. Um,
What if
but
I
yeah, I mean,
tweak the
there's
question slightly to help you narrow it down? How about like people in like the science community or maybe like well-known
oh sure,
scientists?
sure. Well, one person that I'm really lucky to have a friendship with is Miles Maxer. Do you know Miles Maxer? He does
Yes,
the Ant
very well.
Network.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I think he's rebranding a bit right now, but there's a lot going on um, behind the scenes with him. He's working on a lot of stuff, but he's definitely um, like my closest friend in the myrmecological community, I guess you could say, who's like a full-on, ant scientist
Sure.
in the sense of that question. And he knows a lot. He knows a lot of people. He's working on. Have you seen his rebranding recently?
I have not actually. I've seen most of his videos, but
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me make sure this is something that's public. Okay, it might not be public yet. So I won't say anything. I thought it was public, but I'm not going to say anything just in case he doesn't want me to, and because I'm not sure when this is going out.
yes.
Um, but just know, and maybe later on you can put it in the description for the video or something like that. But just know he's coming out with a ton of stuff. A lot of it will be in the stateside shop
Okay.
very soon. Um, it involves nests, accessories, stuff like that, which I'm super excited for. It'll probably be out in the next few weeks. Like it might
Wow.
be days. So we're right on the verge of it as we record this, but um,
That is
yeah.
really
So
cool to
so
hear.
yeah,
Yeah, I heard some when I was talking with Canada Ant Colony, I heard some kind of discussion from him about that as well, that you were kind of looking up some stuff over there, and I'm
yeah,
really stoked about that.
yeah. Well, I work with him too a lot. Zach is awesome. We have uh, we have a bunch of stuff that we're working on too. It's a lot better when everybody just kind of works together. So trying to make those things happen.
That's very special about the innkeeping community. I kind of talked with Zach about that too, with him living right next to Porrimore and just the relationship they built over the years and how
Oh yeah,
this community has really, gone against the capitalist maybe competition and really just formed such close friendships, kind of like you've mentioned. And it's so cool to
yeah.
see.
I mean, most of the people that have any companies, if not all, I like them personally. Like most of those people are good, and it's kind of hard not to like people that you share such a niche interest with too.
Hmm.
So
That's so cool. Well, no interview of you would be complete without mentioning that you are likely, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are likely the largest ant veteran in the United States. Is that is
yeah,
that a fair statement?
I don't know. I'm not too sure. If I had to guess, I would say, well, okay. Are you saying sellers of just ants or like ant store in general?
We'll say just ants.
I do think I sell the most ants in the US. I don't really know what the other shops look like in terms of numbers.
Hmm.
But if I had to guess, I would say yes. Um,
With that being the guess and the likely assumption that we're under here, um,
okay.
not only I think do you sell the most ants, but at least in my experience from colonies that me or other people that I know have bought from you, as compared to other vendors, you also have one of the highest quality like bars that we've ever seen. I just gotta ask,
Oh,
how do you do
nice.
that with that many colonies?
Well, thanks. That's awesome to hear. I just feed them a lot. I mean, it's not much more complicated than that in explanation, and it's easier said than done, of course. But
Hmm.
I keep them warm, I keep them fed, feed them every couple days. And yeah, it's also there's also sort of like this sense of elimination. I mean, when you when you receive a colony that we've sent out, it's been picked out from a larger pool of colonies, and it was probably the healthiest, or one of the healthiest that we could find.
Yeah,
So we kind of whittled down to um the last few colonies, and there's like a cutoff point. Like if a colony's not doing well and they're not going to do well, they don't have a lot of brood or something like that, given it's not like diapause or something like that,
sure.
then we're just not going to send them out. They're just not going to be in stock. So if we just kind of don't leave the option for unhealthy colonies to be sent out. Um, but yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah,
That's super nice to hear.
yeah. It is most definitely true.
Yeah,
Um,
I love the idea of. I don't mean to ramble. It's
no,
just I
please
always
ramble.
think about it like this. Okay, I always think about it like this, and I'm like, I love the idea of seeing the ant colony in a year or 2 years or maybe even more, and it just being like thriving, like giant. Like there's something really gratifying about like having had that colony and like raised it in its infancy. Like I guess you could compare it to like somebody who like fosters puppies.
Sure.
You know what I mean? If you foster puppies and then they go to like loving homes and you see them a year later,
Yeah.
um, I mean, if you're a dog person, of course,
Yep.
and they're happy, it's like it's a gratifying thing. It's like, oh, that was I was foundational to that, and that's how it feels when I see people with happy colonies. So I always kind of think about that when I'm like running things. I'm like, do I, is this colony going to translate into something big like that and super healthy in the future? Of course, given the customer um, does all the right moves with it, but I got to at least give it the best chance.
Yeah. That is awesome. I've never thought of it like that before. That's a really cool way of thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
Well, let's shift a little bit maybe into a small section of practical things for somebody who's listening to this. Maybe they don't know who you are. Say maybe they're just here for something to learn
Sure.
new about their own colony.
Yeah,
So I got to ask, maybe this is a bad question too. What is your
it's
favorite
okay.
or maybe best like protein or carbohydrate source that you use for your colonies
No,
and why?
that's an amazing question. Don't tell yourself that's a bad question. That's an amazing question. Okay.
Okay.
Especially because recently I've like upgraded. And if you
Mm.
buy colonies consistently, you'll probably notice I've upgraded. Um, because the like like the leftovers of foods in the tubes would be different if any make it into the tube, because we do move them before shipping, but
Yep.
like sometimes some pieces get in there. Um,
Hands can be messy, that's for
so
certain.
yeah, so I've for the carbohydrates, excuse me, I've always used Sunburst.
Sure.
Sunburst is where it's at. Um, it's just so convenient, and when you're feeding colonies, I don't like to have to like mix up another batch. For the value, it's relatively cheap.
Hmm.
It's super convenient. They have feeders. Um, and by Formica has always just been super nice to work with. So I've always just been like, yeah, I'm just gonna use Sunburst.
Yep.
Um, for protein, that's where it gets interesting because um, I've always been like well, okay. In the past, I was a cricket guy, which was
Hmm.
probably better than mealworms.
Sure.
Mealworms, they're easy, they're good. I mean, if you're gonna feed your ants no protein or mealworms, go for mealworms. But I've leveled up recently because, oh my gosh. So I got into the game of, I complicated so much, sorry. I feed fruit flies and roaches now, okay?
Nice.
Which I think is the elite combo for protein. And I wrote about this in like an article that I put on the site recently. I call it like super feeding. Um, but like I've noticed just like switching off feeding every day, switching off between dubia roaches and fruit flies has been such an amazing combo for most of my colonies, especially Lasius. Um,
Interesting.
and I think that's because roaches are so nutritious. You know, they have all that bacteria for. Um, I guess it's because like they have to digest a wider range of stuff,
Hmm.
or they just eat like detritus or something. I'm not sure. Um, but they're super nutritious, and so the ants love them. So take a Lasius colony for example. Um, they'll eat the roach, but it's a little bit tough for them to bring the food to their larvae, which is what they love to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I switch off between roaches and fruit flies. Fruit flies are so tiny; they're easy for the ants to drag around or chew up, and and I think fruit flies even work best for something like Camponotus because I've noticed some
Hmm.
Camponotus. Um, if you've ever kept Camponotus, you know this. Their larvae don't really move around much in most species. And so I think I've just started realizing this, but I think a lot of them just do trophallaxis right to the larvae with the protein.
Sure.
And so for them to have fruit flies, I've watched in my Castaneus and Ocreatus colonies and stuff like that. Um, they chew up the fruit flies and you can see it in their gaster. It like turns their gaster red. And then they feed them straight to the larvae. So that's like polar opposites from Lasius and Camponotus. Lasius wants to put the food on top of their larvae because they kind of squirm toward it, and they eat it directly, the larvae. Camponotus, they want to chew it up and then feed it to their larvae. Fruit flies work for both
Yeah.
because fruit flies are soft-bodied, they're easy for the ants to carry, and you know, so they can either be chewed up by the workers or they can be chewed up by the larvae. So fruit flies are elite. If you're going to take any message out of the ramble, fruit flies are elite. Combine them with roaches for like ultra nutrients just to keep the queen egg laying, and
Yep.
you've got yourself a growing colony.
I've got to say, I think one of my favorite memories of my colony, my personal colonies, is seeing Lasius hunting fruit flies. There is nothing like it.
Yes.
The little
Yeah.
guys just get like the fruit fly goes shooting past, and the Lasius worker goes shooting past, and it's like Tom and Jerry kind of.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, they're
So
awesome. Lasius, Camponotus too. Have you seen Camponotus chasing fruit? I think I saw a video you had of your Nova Boracensis being fed fruit flies.
yeah, yeah. Mine are all test tube right now. I'm gonna move them out this coming spring,
Okay,
so
fair
I haven't
enough.
had quite the free range experience with the workers, but yeah,
Yeah.
they do love the fruit flies. I will back you up on that.
Yes, they love fruit flies. So
It has been
yeah.
really fun this year keeping Campanotus for the first time, or first true time really, and yeah, seeing their love for that.
Really? It's your first real go at them?
First real go with them. Yeah, I was really lucky in the Black Hills to get a good catch of Ficinus, so that's
Oh, the
been
Black
fun, and
Hills.
then
Wow.
Novibor, Kansas as well. So
Wow. So you went to the Black Hills.
yeah, yeah, that's funny. I was gonna kind of ask you about that because
Yeah. That's
my
awesome.
passion for keeping and selling, because I have obviously my Formiculture shop. My passion for catching ants there to sell on the shop really stems from nature. Like I love camping, I love tenting. And
Yeah.
when you're out in when you're out in nature, of course, and you keep ants, in the back of your mind is always on the lookout for the right conditions. And,
Yeah.
end up just catching a few. So I was gonna ask, is that similar to how you do it, or how does
Yeah, well,
your ant catching go?
I mean, if you're talking for the shop, I should get this out of the way just to mention like probably most of the colonies that I sell are from suppliers. They're not me. So like technically Stateside Ants is not just me. It's sort of me with the combination of a bunch of people that I know catch, healthy queens, um, getting those queens to customers. But for me personally, catching, um, it sometimes it is much like you just described, where yeah, I want to go to a new place, I want to explore it. I'll sometimes I'll camp, um, sometimes I'll just drive out for a day trip. I've gone on trips to Arizona; those are the most fun. Lots of camping there. Um, yeah, I think flights are some of the most exhilarating experiences you can have as an ant keeper, because
Say that
obviously
again.
there's different like ranges of flights. There's like a small sort of underwhelming flight. You're kind of like, oh, I caught some queens, and there's like the peaks. And when you look back on those in your memory, it's always something fond.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, most of the queens on this site are probably from suppliers. There's still a ton amount, like a giant amount, that I catch myself or have other people local help catch for me. Um, but but yeah, I love going out and just looking for ants. So I guess I would say overall I'm similar. Um, I do like to wander and look for ants, almost more than keeping the ants to a fault.
I I feel that. I'd say I'm the opposite of the spectrum where I catch too many. I'm like I know I should stop, but it's just so hard to let it go.
That was me, and then I just made a reason to not stop, I guess.
That's fair. Well, I got a really interesting question here. So, as I
Oh.
mentioned, we've had me and Brushmore Ants and other people that I've talked to have had wonderful experiences with your shop. And we've had less so good experiences with other shops, and I won't name any names, but we've had a little bit of a suspicion that other people are catching queens, they're raising them to nitticks, and then diapausing them in a fridge to keep them, in a good state so that they don't have to feed them. Is there anything you know about that?
Hmm. No. So wait, you're saying this is like random keepers, or this is like a shop or somebody?
This is a vendor that we bought from, or not we, but somebody has bought from several times who has not had the
Hmm.
greatest experience. And what we've noticed with the colonies is that they seem to come with a very small amount of nitticks at weird times in the year when they should have a lot more,
Hmm.
and very little brood. But they'll do really well, and they'll keep doing well into winter, well past the times that maybe they should if normal cycles were to persist.
No, I haven't heard anything. Well, okay, I've heard about like small colonies. Maybe they should be bigger at this time of year, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard the theory that somebody's just like sticking them in the fridge. um, that's interesting. Maybe later you can like DM me the full theory, just so we don't put
Yeah.
anybody on blast here.
No,
Um,
100%.
but that's interesting. No, I haven't heard anything. I don't know anything about that.
Cool. That's
I don't
honestly
do
that's
that, obviously.
yeah, no, of course. Like I said, this is somebody else's, but that's good to know. I mean,
Okay.
we were it's good to hear that. It doesn't sound like people are doing that, maybe at least in the open.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
All right, let's transition to Stateside Ants. So your shop, of course. I got a couple rapid fire questions here. Doesn't have to be rapid fire, but they're meant to be quicker. Um,
Okay.
and my first one is, do you have any employees?
No. no, not yet. Um, sometimes um, there's like people that will like help out or something like that for a couple minutes, or they'll like you know help me run errands and stuff like that. But for the most
Hmm.
part, it's just me feeding and shipping and doing all that. Pretty soon, I'm gonna have to get employees with the way it's going, and there's some people that you know will probably be um, hired soon as like feeders and stuff like that. Um,
That's
but no,
awesome.
for now it's just me.
I've gotta ask them. That brought up a really cool point. When I was talking with Zach from Canada Ant Colony, he was talking about how in Canada, he said, summarize, he had said basically that the ant keeping like world had sort of penetrated deeper into like more of the population and also more of like the pet keeping world and the
Mhm.
scientific world. And so he had said that these past couple of years, his sales have sort of plateaued a little bit, but it sounded like you were mentioned that yours are still growing in the fact that you might now need employees. So is that the case? Are
Um,
you seeing more growth?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been growing pretty quickly in the U.S. here, at least from what I've seen. Especially this year has been some pretty big growth. Um, yeah, Zach. You know, and sort of on the topic, Zach is in a really good spot because with Canada, there's so many people that live in or around Toronto.
Yeah.
There's such a there's such an awesome pool of ant keepers that could work at Canada Ant Colony. Um, so I'm jealous of that. But
Good work is hard to find, they do say.
yeah, fair enough. Or it just lives too far away, because I mean in the U.S. we are more spread out. So, but
Well, if we're on the topic
yeah,
of Zach, we might as well talk a little bit more about him. Um, I don't
cool.
know if you have read his Formiculture post about ant medicine. That was probably 2 years ago, and it was really, really fascinating. I want to know if you've done anything with that, or if you haven't, if there's anything that you do to keep your colony deaths down.
No, I think he's explained this to me before, but I'm like completely blanking. What is the ant medicine?
So what he's doing right now in its most practical sense is he said he's been mixing some hydrogen peroxide into, in your case, it'd be like the sunburst into the carbohydrate
Oh,
source, and it seems to be reducing
oh,
disease.
that's right.
And
That's
then there's
right.
some other things he had experimented with too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So wait, the question was just if I'd use that.
If you had done that, or what do you do to keep colony deaths down?
Oh, um, I don't really have anything specific that I use to keep colony deaths down. Mainly, stuff that I've noticed is like um with harvester ants, you don't have to. There's a couple species harvester ants. When I say harvester ants, I mean Pogonum myrmex. There's some species where you can feed them seeds their entire lives, and they will do amazing. Um, but what I have noticed is when you feed them protein earlier on, the SQDS, sudden queen death syndrome, that's a lot less common. Um, and I would assume it might have something to do with like the queen getting more nutrients. If you feed them like a piece of adubia or some fruit flies or something, they might get more nutrients from that than just that they would get from the seeds. But also, there's times where the queens do amazing with only seeds, and they live for years and years and years. So, not really anything definitive, but um, no, I haven't done anything with the medicine. Um, I guess to keep colony deaths down, I just try to keep them as healthy as possible, and I buy more than I think I will sell, knowing that some queens will probably die.
Sure. Nice. So, on the topic of colonies, how many colonies do you think you keep at a given time? Let's say
Ooh,
Well, how about peak? Do you think what's the maximum amount of colonies that you've ever had?
Peak peak would probably be something. The peak would be this year. I think we probably had a little over 10,000 colonies peak this year.
Wow.
Um, I guess I should say 10,000 queens. It definitely wasn't 10,000 colonies. There's some colonies with multiple queens, and some founding queens don't make it, so it doesn't translate to exactly 10,000 queen colonies being fed. Um, but yeah, we had a lot of queens this year.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, and on that topic too, not only I think has Stateside Ants become the biggest ant seller in the US, but I think you guys have done a really good job at branching out. We can take, Tar Heel ants for a good example of they really have a policy of sticking to larger species and
Hmm.
probably more common, maybe Camponotus and Formica subseritia, like you mentioned. But you guys have really branched out into some really rare species, which I think has captured the interest of a lot of experienced ant keepers, at least myself included. So tell me
Yeah.
about that. What do you think has been like the rarest species that you guys have sold? And
Oh.
are those common? Like, are you able to get a good quantity of those, or are those just really rare catches that only suppliers get, once every couple of years?
Oh gosh. Okay. Rarest species. Well, okay. There's probably, I don't know if I can say what the exact rarest is. There's probably like a couple very rare ones. I don't know how I can compare them without people being like, "No, this is rare." Um, but one thing that's I think is pretty rare is Chromatogaster missouriensis. This year was the first time we ever got them in stock,
Yeah, I've
and I
been
don't
eyeing
think
them. I
anyone
wish they were
has.
native here.
Oh, dude, I wish they were too. I would totally just send you a colony. Um, but they would. I don't think anybody's ever sold them before, and
Mhm.
people have been loving them. They're pretty small. That's their only downside, though. They're bright yellow. They're cute. They're like a they're like the perfect desktop colony. They don't get too big.
Super hardy too.
Um, yeah, they're pretty hardy. Another rare one would be like, I don't know if you could say they're rare, but it was another one that we sold for the first time in the U.S. Was Trachymyrmex septentrionalis, the eastern little leaf cutter guys. I guess we call them leaf cutters. They do cut leaves, so they are leaf cutters. But obviously, leaves are like a smaller portion of their diet. They eat
Yeah,
like detritus and like exoskeletons and stuff like that. Um,
those
but
things
they're
were
super
gone
cool.
fast off your shop too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we didn't sell a ton of colonies this year, but next year we're gonna have a bunch more available. Um, and probably the price will eventually be able to come down somewhat. We didn't make much off those. They, despite the price being high, and everybody's like, "Why are you selling them for so high?" I'm like, I just don't want to lose money. Which I'm okay with losing money sometimes, but it's like, yeah, those aren't cheap, believe it or not, to get, and then to get all the setups and stuff too. Um,
Well, and I gotta say,
but
just on that point,
yeah,
people maybe give you a little bit of hate for them not being cheap, but I think part of that reason is you with your suppliers when you buy ants from them, you give them fair prices. Because I've
yeah,
definitely heard horror stories of people being like, "Yeah, I'll pay, insert insanely low price here for your colonies."
yeah,
So props to you on that ethical decision and really supporting that community around you.
yeah. I try to do fair prices. Obviously, there's like this balance between like, um, it's always tough when somebody comes to me with a smaller quantity of colonies or queens, because if I don't give them like a high price, like it's literally a couple bucks for like 10 or 20 queens.
Hmm.
And I always feel bad because usually people are like, really? That's it? Um, and I'm like, well, okay, if it's like 100 queens, this is like a more reasonable price.
Hmm.
So sometimes I'll be a little bit flexible with when it's like lower quality quantities and stuff like that. But yeah, I try to give the suppliers, a fair cut. I try not to like upscale ridiculously from the supplier prices. Obviously, there's got to be some profit, but I'm not. It's not just like money extracting. I'm trying to keep it reasonable, of course.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
So
Well, we talked about rarest. We might as well talk about uh, most common in a way. So, what is your best-selling species that you have?
I I think you could probably guess it. It is Tetramorium immigrants.
Oh man,
Um,
I know that name way too
which
well.
yeah, there you go. Um, which at first I was like, oh man, am I really gonna send these everywhere? But then it's like, this is so great for the hobby. It is. We are so lucky that they are like permitted to be sent around because most of the introduced species aren't.
Hmm.
Um, but the APHIS made a super wise decision and let us send those because they're in basically every state. So there's
Unfortunately,
really no point from withholding them. Um, so, but yeah, I they are the most commonly bought ant on the shop, and for good reason. They're the hardiest ant. They're like the most generalist. Whatever your thoughts may be about Tetramorium, um, they're like an amazing introduction.
yeah, they really are.
There's like for a beginner ant, you you can't get much more picky than Tetramorium. I mean, it's like they were made for beginners.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Even though I do dislike, like you mentioned, that they've displaced a lot of Formica in my area.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I'm on the same train. They are
Uh,
just an amazing asset to the ant keeping community in large, though.
100%. Well, I
So
gotta
yeah,
ask. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go for it.
Okay, yeah, and then some other common ones, just in case I figure if anybody's wondering.
Yeah.
Um, just stuff like Occidentalis, of course. They're awesome. They're like another really good beginner ant. You just gotta be careful because they sting.
Hmm.
Um, Bicarinata are bought pretty commonly, although the problem is we're having trouble like getting enough of them to keep
Yeah.
in stock. So we keep like raising the price toward the end, hoping like, okay, can we make this last a little bit? So
Hmm.
like we're not out of stock of Bicarinata before winter even starts. But I
Hmm.
think we're gonna get there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we're gonna run out pretty soon. So if you want Bicarinata this year, get them like now. And if you catch Bicarinata, reach out to me. So, but yeah,
We have one well, we have several. We have the biggest population that I know here in South Dakota is at Yankton, and
really,
predicting flights there, it's right next to the Missouri, and predicting flights there is near
okay.
impossible because almost every day is like 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh wow. Okay, so there's Bicarinata there.
Yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed, but I guess I just pulled it up on Google Maps. That does make sense. I mean, it's pretty far south. It's probably got a lot of seeds for them. Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about them being in a windy area is kind of that um, if it's not windy, there's a good chance they'll go.
That is 100% true. You know when they're flying, kind of like the desert. It's just,
Yeah,
can you get the right, camping
yeah.
time, or can you get it that
Oh,
happen when you're camping there?
for sure. Yep. That's the difficulty point, I would imagine.
Hmm. So I kind of talked to Zach about this too on our interview. I'm a big Formica guy. I really like Formica. I've always been fascinated with it.
Really?
But I guess the coolest thing about South Dakota, people hate on us, right? We have all the snow and we don't have all the cool, Nemricus, et cetera, et cetera. But man, do we have a selection of Formica. And one thing I've
Mm.
noticed, and one thing that Zach mentioned, is that it doesn't seem like there's a big interest in Formica. Otherwise, do you think you'd be selling a lot more variety, or is it just people don't catch them?
Well, first off, the South Dakota hate is so forced. South Dakota's awesome. Um, so don't let them get you down. But
Thank you.
um, yeah, I think Formica are great. I do know Zach. I think he said something about them. Kind of, they're like weird with feeding, and
Hmm.
I think he mentioned something about that, and it's true. They are weird. Like their larval stage is so fast that if you don't feed them and their larvae in like a window, they'll kind of lose some brood.
Yep.
Um, and that's kind of just like an inevitability, especially when I have stock colonies. I can't feed them constantly.
Hmm.
So yeah, Formica colonies. I want to sell them because like I agree, Formica are awesome. Um, but there's uh, I don't know. It is rough. The colonies tend to be healthy when we send them out. It's just I try to always like max them out, and you can't really max them out when you have them in stock like that. So, um, but I think you also are kind of getting at how there's not much diversity for Formica available, right? Yeah, that I don't know why that is. I can't really get in decent numbers anybody to sell me other Formica species currently.
Sure.
Um, so it's mostly just Subsericia that people catch a bunch of. There might be the odd um, handful of Paudifulva or
Yep.
Montana. Even I know you know Montana. I love Montana.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and yeah, maybe some others I'm forgetting. Um, I would love if somebody. We did have a bunch of Neogagates this year, or
I noticed. Yeah.
Neogagates, but we just ran out. Like I have like one personal colony that I'm keeping, and then like an extra. Um, so that was cool. A supplier that I'm really good friends with got us a decent amount, so we were able to sell those.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I want to sell more Formica. I want to sell like the orange ones, what Bradleyi.
Bradley. Yep.
Those the little yes. Um, I
I
want to
would
sell
die
those.
for one of those. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah. My buddy seems to think there's like this hidden population in northwestern Wisconsin. We're gonna go check it out. I think he's trolling me, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, I want Brad Leahy. I want other cool Formica, especially from out west.
Mm.
Um,
What are your
yeah, I
thoughts?
probably.
Or you go for it. You go for
What's
it.
that?
No,
I
you go for it.
probably wouldn't sell. Well, I wonder if you're gonna ask this. But I probably wouldn't sell parasites yet.
I was.
Is that what you're gonna ask?
That was what I was gonna ask.
I probably won't sell parasites yet. Maybe I'll go for it, but they tend to be a lot of work and they're very sporadic. So, I might get 5 or 6 parasites of something in a year. I might get none, or maybe I'll get 20 if I'm super lucky. Um, and you know, I mean, I guess if a supplier started catching them and they were willing to get them hosts fast enough or ship them to me fast enough so that I could get them hosts, then maybe that could happen. But it's more they're a ton of work
Hmm.
just to get started, and they're not really a beginner ant.
No, they're not. And that was one of my big conversations with Zach too. Was just I think I think me and other people in our little formiculture community really just don't realize how much of yours' volume comes from new people. Like I think we
Yeah,
don't see it, and just
yeah,
I
for
think we're
sure.
always caught up in like oh the best ants vendor is the one that has the most selection, but it's really just about quality and getting people ants that they can care for and can do well with.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But I do want to have, I don't want to leave the like the actual sort of veteran ant keepers in the dust compared to the newbies. Like I do want to have those more interesting, like I guess you could call them specialty ants in stock,
Yep.
but it all comes with time, and sometimes I just have to prioritize stuff. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to get stuff like that in stock this year. Um, but unfortunately, I can't make any promises on it.
Well, that was what I was going to mention is I actually know a spot in the Black Hills that I can very reliably get good amounts of Formica acerba.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I would
And
take those.
the cool thing about them is you actually don't need to give them workers. You can only give them brood. So pupae, they know how to open pupae and
Yeah,
they'll actually release
yeah.
the workers themselves. So you don't need to mess
And
with like
do
the
they
tallow method and
need
stuff.
a serva? Are they? I know they're sometimes dulotic. They're raiders, but from what I understand, they can also not be if they want.
Yes, that's true. You would have to read Rushmore Ant's journal on his colony more. He's got bioworkers and they're kind of like stagnant right now. So I think it might
Mm,
depend on the colony. You might have to do more experimentation with that, but they definitely can raise
okay.
bios without rating, just
Okay. Wow.
from the host workers.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if
but
they can keep going.
if I know for sure some can. I think it might depend on the population, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's fair enough. That's super interesting.
yeah. So I might be able to hook you up with that.
That would be awesome. Keep in touch with me about that, because
I'm
yeah, I mean, I'd be totally interested.
I will. And if you're cool, I thought this would be really cool because um I think, you have your suppliers, but I think so many people don't realize that when they get, you know, excess queens, that they can literally just sell it to you and that you've taken care of all the legal stuff and all the permits. So
Yeah.
if you'd be down, I'd love to maybe facilitate a little bit of a like like a look into what it'd look like as if somebody was trying to sell you queens. You'd be down for that?
Sure. Yeah. What would that be like?
Maybe I think the big thing is like you mentioned, just so people understand the prices, what would be maybe something that would
Sure.
what they might get out of it so they don't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be rich, after selling my 10 colonies.
Yeah.
I have some spare Nobibor Kansas and then Neo Gates queens that I um, don't have time to keep just with the busyness of my schedule. And I'd love
Hmm.
to see what you'd be interested in.
Okay.
So I have,
Cool. So
and I'll let you go for it.
so well, actually, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm really interested in this because I know you mentioned before with the small stock, and I want to see
Yeah.
what you're willing to offer in winter.
Okay. Fair enough. Um, I guess it depends on the quantity. How many do you have?
I have probably 10 Novibor, Kansas queens, all with varying between probably 10 to 15 workers.
Oh, okay.
And then I have, let's see here. Let me just check quickly.
Sure.
Okay, and then I have 15 New Gates queens that are overwintering, so they haven't laid any brood.
Okay.
And then, really interestingly, you might not, we'll see, this is completely random. I actually have probably 15 Myrmica, likely Americana, but you know how Myrmica are.
Okay.
So, what do you think? What are your
Oh,
thoughts?
I think for most Myrmica, I didn't get permits. I really should. Um, but I think there's a couple Myrmica I have permits for and some that I don't. So I'll have to check on those.
Yeah.
Um, for the Neo Gagatis, wait, so that's interesting. Do they diapause before workers there?
The ones here do, yeah.
Oh
They
wow,
fly
that's super
really
cool.
late in the year. Like they flew like September sometime.
Oh wow,
They're like the last
that's super
flying
cool.
ants.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Um, yeah, I would probably buy those. Um, the Nove Borkensis definitely. Those sound like they're doing super well. So would you just like pricing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool for somebody and literally like I think you would take the best care of them. So whatever you offer, I'd take you up on. And I think it's the most important thing I'm trying to get at is I want people who listen to this just to know um, what they would expect going into this.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Well, for the Novae considering they have workers, we'd probably I would usually do something like $15 per colony, so about $150 total.
Wow.
Um, and for the Neogagates, so probably without workers, I'd do like $8 or $10 per.
Yeah, that is really awesome, I think, because I just love how you do this so ethically because and I really like genuinely this is why I'm doing this interview because I want people to know more about you because there are so many ant suppliers that have like the get rich, mentality of like if I get this for
Yeah,
really cheap and they're basically free, right? And I put the minimal amount of effort, right, and sell them for high quantities, I can make all this money. But you're so
yeah,
much more of a quality guy, and genuinely, that's why I love Stateside Ants so much, and I want to support you so much.
yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. When you said they have workers, I perked up because I was like, oh, um, and I've seen your other colonies, and I'm like, oh, well, those are probably going to be doing pretty well. Um, so yeah, and I mean, just sort of add on to what you said. Yeah, totally. A lot of people tend to when they think about like supplying ants, they sort of have this idea in their head where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna pick up 5 queens and um, like each of them is worth like the same price that they are in stateside, and it's like,
Hmm.
well, okay, I wish that I could do that and give you that much money for them. Like, like I'm not like praying on your downfall, but it's like I have to not pay that price. Otherwise, I would just have to raise the store price
Yep.
to make it worth doing. So, but then people are pretty understanding. They're like, okay, um, and then we kind of come to an understanding with that. But the main thing is, um, a lot of people think that understandably, if they grab like 5 queens, they can make a couple bucks, and you could, but preferably, just for anybody out there who is considering being a supplier, we do prefer to buy in higher quantities. So, like, something like Tetramorium immigrants, where, we might get from a supplier like hundreds of queens or something like that. Um, and then somebody like messages me and they're like, hey, I have like 1 or 2 Tetramorium queens I want to sell. It's like, of course, I appreciate them reaching out, and it's super super generous for them to do that. But
Yeah.
usually, I'll be like, "Hey, um, we try to do it in higher quantities because I mean, it's not worth it for them either.
Hmm.
They'd probably be better off just selling 1 or 2 on GAN. They'd make a bunch more money." So I'm like, um, and I'll usually give them directions. It's like, "Hey, if you want to supply though, um, like I'll send you this gear to collect." And I'll give you like advice on their flight times so you can catch as many as possible. And it's a win-win. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, for anybody out there, we prefer to buy in higher quantities. If you're interested, just reach out. I will give you like a rundown on your area, just to kind of show you what you can get and how many we would be interested in, and how you can get a ton of them.
Yeah. That is so cool. That really is good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long. I just got a few more
No,
questions
you're good.
left, and I think then we can call it a day. Is that kind of cool?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All
Yeah.
right. So I asked you. Let's talk a little bit more about your personal ants. I asked you the rarest colony you've sold.
Sure.
What is the rarest colony that you've kept or have seen kept?
Oh. Um, I have to think about this. Rarest colony that I've kept. Can it be like a queen that I have like I just got?
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe you know what I'll say, or maybe you don't. Um, I think probably the rarest one that I have right now would be my Lasius coli. because I'm pretty sure that like we just found out what their queens looked like last year, and
Wow.
this year I got a queen for myself. And I have her with a bunch of hosts, and she's in hibernation right now, but she has larvae, so that's super exciting. I don't think anybody has ever even caught their queens before.
Hmm.
Um, so that would be one of the rarest. Although, um, yes, that's the Lasius. I should mention it's not the rarest anymore because one or two Floridians popped off and got a bunch of them this year. They did awesome. Um, but I do have a giant colony of Dorimyrmex flavopectus,
I
which
have
is
never heard of
this.
that.
Yeah, well, exactly. They're totally underrated. They're like this orange and gray bicolored Dorimyrmex from Florida.
Hmm.
Um, they're like they have a pretty restricted range. Um, they live in these rosemary stands, and their colonies get huge. Their queens are a bit bigger than Bureni, um,
Hmm.
and up until I think last year, nobody's really kept them, or if they have, they haven't posted about it much.
Hmm.
Um, and last year, one of my suppliers, a good friend in Florida, got me a queen.
Nice.
And since like last summer, I've grown them pretty big, and right now they actually have like hundreds of queen elates in their giant nest.
Wow. Do
Which
they
I
inbreed or?
no, they don't. Well, at
Oh,
least I
okay.
don't think so. I think the colonies are like strictly monogamous, but um, yeah. And I should mention that colony is in the nests, like a prototype, basically of the nests that we're about to have in the shop.
Well, I can't
Um,
wait.
I think you will love them. I'll go into a little bit of detail. I'm like so excited for these. Um, but so these nests are going to be like think of an Uncle Milton ant farm
Hmm.
and then make it completely functional for long-term growth and big.
That's so
Well,
cool.
possibly big. That's what these are. So it's like it's got structure, it's got hydration ports, it's got all the conveniences. It comes with an outworld with a rim.
Nice.
So, it's just like a convenient nest. And you get to see the ants dig and they don't die. So it's like it's all the good things put together. And the proof of the product is that I have that giant colony that I've grown to elates in there.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm super excited. They yeah, they're definitely not going to be like super cheap. I must warn everybody, but they're not going to be unreasonably expensive either.
Hmm.
Um, because they're made in the USA. They're made with super good quality materials. But
Yeah.
oh my gosh, they're so fun. I keep having to tell myself like I can't keep another personal colony of every species just to put them in those nests. But that's what I want to do because like there's such a difference between when you have ants in like sand and ants in
A
like
cave.
a
Yeah.
artificial nest. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I won't ramble about it for too long. But I'm super excited, and yeah, maybe I can send you a video of the Flavopectus soon. So that yeah, to get back to the question, Flavopectus they were super rare. This year a bunch of people got colonies because the Floridians have such a tight community, but
That's so cool.
um, that's another super rare species.
Man, I'm looking forward to that nest drop. I will probably be one of the first in line. I'm not gonna lie,
That's
to get one of those
awesome.
to be for my Camponotus colony. So
Well, perfect. Well, I hope they dig in soil. The Vicinus do, right?
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think,
Okay,
I mean, most
perfect.
people keep them in Tar Heel ants, so it'll be really fun to see them in soil with their colors. I think that'll be
Yes.
so cool.
Oh my
And I mean,
gosh, it's gonna be
I'm sure the
amazing.
photographs are just like so because they're so close to the glass, you'll be able to see them so well.
Yeah, yeah. It's perfect.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
All right,
So I'm
got
super
two more
excited.
questions.
Perfect.
Firstly, I think probably one of my favorite things about you, at least recently on Formiculture, has been your love for Lasius because I know you have such a passion for Lasius, and Everybody hates on Lasius because everybody thinks they're so boring. But I think it's so cool that you, of all people, as such a big supplier, have just taken such a love for them and gotten so many different species of them because they really are so diverse. So tell me about your colonies. How are they doing?
Well, they're doing good. Um, and I love Lasius because they're the best.
Enough
Um,
said.
it, I mean, it took me a while to figure it out. I went through all the ant keeper phases. When I started off, Lasius were boring and native, and I went through all my phases. Where I had to go to a part of the state where there's Phydoli instead.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, the
Oh yeah.
shiny big-headed ants. And then I
Yup.
I discovered Formica that make mounds. I'm not gonna hate on the Formica; they're awesome. Um, but you know, all roads lead to Lasius if you live where I live. So it's like, yeah, Lasius are awesome. And I mean, to be a bit more serious, like Lasius, they are very slow to get started, but like a large Lasius colony is more impressive than almost anything else. Especially when you get to these parasites and even some of these claustral species where the queens will get stupidly physogastric. The colonies are like insanely complex. They have these crazy backstories, um, and there's so many. Uh, so I guess that's just a word in general on Lasius, but I just love trying to keep all the parasites because there's like so many different varieties. A ton of them have never been kept, so I'm trying to be the first to experiment and like document these species in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, most of them are in hibernation right now. Um, but yeah, I just love them.
That is awesome. That truly is.
And actually, do you know if Lasius sitiens is native to your state?
Citizens? I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing it differently.
sitiens or sitiens or I don't know how they should be
Is
said.
this it's an S, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's pull it up. If I were to guess at the top of my head while I'm waiting for Antwiki to load, I'm gonna say no. At least
Okay.
I've never
The,
seen them or heard of them. I mean, then again, there's not many of us South Dakotans, but um,
yeah. Well, as
I
long
don't.
as they've been found by somebody and they're marked native in your state, I probably have the permit for them, and I'll have to make sure and everything. But
Okay.
um,
Yes, actually, they technically are.
oh my gosh, okay, that's wonderful. Well, if you're interested, and I'll of course make sure I have the permit first. I'm pretty sure I do. Um, I could send you a colony. Um,
I would
would you
love.
be interested in that?
I would love to keep that. I'm always down to keep the new ant I've never seen before. They
Okay,
they look really
perfect.
like kale.
Yeah, so they're like I'll have to like nerd out here for a second. They
Go
are
for it.
basically how brevicornis are like subterranean
Yep.
and they're like yellow.
Yep.
Um, Sitiens is actually closely related. They're like almost a cousin or sister species to Neoniger. But they've sort of gone down the exact same route as brevicornis and started to get smaller eyes and paler pigmentation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and why I love them so much is I started keeping them last year. I got a colony for the first time, and that colony has not hibernated, has not diapaused, I should say, at all. And I've
Hmm.
had, and the colony was started in 2024. They've not diapaused at all, and they're nearing like probably 1,000 workers right now.
Wow.
Colony's chugging along. Um, so I'm starting to realize like they are, because they're from the Southwest,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty, they're like in like border desert habitats almost.
Sure.
So they seem to have this ability to skip diapause, or kind of cheat it a little bit to an extent. Um, so it's been the fastest growing Lasius I've ever kept. So I figured I would love to send you a colony if you're down for it, because I
I
have
am
a couple
so down.
extras.
That is
Awesome.
really cool.
Yeah, I could send you one, and I think you'd love them because um, because like Neo Niger can kind of stagnate after diapause, and we're not really sure what's going on with that.
They're
But
so weird with
like
that,
these
yeah.
sitiens, yeah, these sitiens were they just don't seem to have that problem. They just keep going.
That is really unique. And the crazy thing
Yeah,
is, like we would never know if it wasn't for your journals and your work in this area, and your kind of experimentation with that. So thank you for that, really.
yeah. Well, thanks. That's super nice. Yeah, I just really love them, and I really like documenting them.
I very much look forward to keeping them. So thank you so much for that opportunity.
Awesome.
Because
Yeah,
I
of
guarantee you
course.
otherwise I would never see them because
Yeah.
you look on AntWiki at where it's native and there's not even a point on the map. They just say it's native.
Oh, that's like the extent of their range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you to keep them. I'm excited to see how they do.
Anthony, thank you so much for your time here and for
Of
agreeing to
course.
this call and really for all your ethical and hard work in this community to getting so many new people involved with ants that genuinely will have a good life going forward.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Um, and everybody who's watching should check out Ants Dakota's the whole rest of his channel. See all his colonies. Look at his Formiculture monthly reviews because those are awesome. Um, and yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Yeah,
This is awesome.
thank you.